Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World Class Down podcast. Our special guest today is Andy Legg. But before we get into the episode, guys, Steve is going to tell you a little bit more about our World Class Club.
Yeah, we've got 2 tiers, a gold tier and a silver tier. So if you do like what we do and you like the conversations we have, you like the people we have on the show, on the podcast, you hear some stories you haven't heard before, or we give you a laugh, please do help support us. It really does help us get these ex-pros sat in the hot seat. The gold tier is $2.99. That is the ad-free episodes for all our back catalogue. And the silver tier, which is 99p, is the early release of our episodes. We do 2 parts every guest, so you get the second part straight away.
Yeah, remember to like and subscribe. We'll get back to you.
Talking about like some of the world class players playing in the game today. So when you think of a world class player, you've obviously played with a few. What is your definition?
You just go look at Salah, and you
Salah.
Yeah, you just look at him and you think he could do nothing for 15 minutes. And then he gets the ball and he'll go past you like you're not there, and then bend it right in the top corner, or do some little drills with his feet, and then he's past you, and then he's created a goal. He's just incredible.
Yeah,
I think he's a typical world-class player. Mm-hmm. I think he's probably the best player in the world at the moment.
Yeah,
I think so. I believe so. I know that they go on about Mbappe, but for me, Salah's a better player.
Yeah.
I looked at Mbappe against Liverpool, and I think
he got dumped on his head at one point, didn't he?
The young kid absolutely destroyed him. Where Salah shone. I just think he is world class. And don't get me wrong, Bellingham's world class. I think because he's just taken football by storm, hasn't he? He's just come from nowhere. Yeah. Coming from Birmingham, get picked up to go to Dortmund, and then now over to Madrid is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I've said it a few times, but the fact that he goes over and takes the number 5 shirt, which was Zidane, you got to have something about you too.
Yeah, you got to have some kahunas in.
Yeah,
so, yeah. He's to be fair, he's not shy either. He speaks his mind, and you got to appreciate that. I think he's done really well, and he ran Madrid last year. Yeah, I actually went out to watch him last year when they actually won the league at home. He was incredible.
Yeah, he scored a good goal the other night as well in the Champions League.
I haven't seen that one yet, but I've been told it's a good one. Yeah,
it was a nice low-driven shot, and helped Madrid get back on track, because I think they conceded the first goal, but yeah,
they'll probably end up scraping through the Champions League group stage now and win it, won't they?
Well,
Madrid, that's what they do.
Typical Madrid, innit? Last year they didn't deserve to win it. Last year, they weren't the better team in the final.
They find a way somehow.
They just find a way.
Yeah. What about in your era, world-class players?
You got to look at Giggs and Southall for me. Never. I know he's not an outfield player, but best goalkeeper in the world without a doubt. And Giggs, for somebody to run it who's so quick and swerve his body like he did, you just didn't know where he was going. When he used to try and defend against him, you used to think, well, he's running at me now, but I don't know which way he's going to go. Because his swerves, we just couldn't read him.
What was Ryan Giggs like? Obviously, he's caught a bit of controversy, but he comes across as quite a quiet individual. Was he like that in training? Was he?
Yeah, he was pretty quiet. Yeah, he'd have a laugh with the boys when it was necessary. Used to be with Speeds a lot. Used to be with Gary a lot, and I was never with him because I was like, it used to be me and Robbie Savage out of the way.
Oh, okay. Was there like cliques in the dressing room?
No. They always, that's one thing that I expected, and I came up when I was at Birmingham, was a division below them. You could possibly say, oh, they think, oh, here he is, he's playing in that league, blah blah blah. But they always made you feel welcome. They always got you involved. It was nothing cynical about anything, they were always decent.
Well, keeping with the Wales theme, how do you think Wales are doing now? Obviously Bellamy's taken over and they're doing fantastic, and also the Welsh women's side have qualified for the Euros, so what are your thoughts on those two sides?
I actually watched the women's game the other night, and I sat down and really enjoyed it. It was a brilliant game.
Oh, it was a cracking game, wasn't
it? I watched a little bit of the first game at Cardiff, but I didn't watch all of it. But I actually watched the full game against Ireland out there, and it was brilliant. Second half when they came out and
Yeah.
The way that she changed their tactics at half time and stuff. And it's great for ladies football now, and especially in Wales now, because I'll encourage so many young girls now to go and play football maybe instead of like, I don't know, sitting in the house on computers and stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, they're into sport, and it's got to be healthy for them, innit?
Yeah.
And I think it's great for the Welsh FA.
Should bring in a bit of money, shouldn't it? Really,
It should bring in a bit of money. Bring in a bit of interest now. They're on about building or laying some more 4G pitches around for ladies teams. So that'll be good. And the men's team, Bellamy has done absolutely unbelievable, to be fair. I think I spoke about it earlier on, and I said he's a model pro and he'll demand the best, whether it's from the kit man down to the whoever cleans the kitchen. He wants the best of the best, and he'll demand that. And it's working. He's got to tune up the players, and he's got them organised. I like the way they work together. It's a team.
Yeah.
It's not individuals anymore.
Yeah.
We relied on Gareth a lot when he played. And when you had a world-class player like Gareth, you had to rely on him.
Yeah.
But the team still defended well, but now it's more of a team. You know, they can't look for that Gareth now to say, get us out of trouble, Gar, you know?
Yeah. Your star player is probably Harry Wilson, isn't it?
He's come on leaps and bounds, isn't he? And for me, he's so unfortunate not to play for Fulham and start games, because when he came on and scored the 2 against...
I scored 2 late goals for
in the
Fulham.
Premier League,
goals,
in the rounds.
Yeah.
Was it Wolves? I want to say it was Wolves, but maybe it wasn't. But,
I think it was Wolves, was it?
Maybe that was Palace. Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to rack my brains.
I can't remember.
I did see the goals,
but he came on and scored 2 late goals, didn't he? And he came on the other day and scored another worldie. Yeah, and he comes on, he changes the game. You know, they go to Anfield on Saturday, and I fear for Liverpool sometimes against Fulham, because you just don't know what you're going to get from them. They're decent side.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Well, he pretty much almost got Cardiff into the playoffs, didn't he? Single-handedly that season that he was on loan, and you know he was creating everything, and I think he scored a hat-trick of free kicks, or he maybe scored 2 free kicks against Birmingham on the final day. He's got massive amounts of potential and should be starting really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's very unfortunate not to start for Fulham. But going back to the Welsh team, I mean it's quite young, apart from. I'm not going to mention his name. but he's using his experience at the back, and rightly so. But it's a young team. So I think it can only get better.
Yeah.
The more time they spend together, the more games they play together, they can only get better. And we've got a couple out injured as well, haven't we? So they got to come back as well.
They're good to watch going forward, and a bit like Bellamy in his day. They not head down, but attack forward with pace.
He gives them freedom. I think he's giving them freedom, and he likes them to play, and he encourages them to play. You can see him on the sideline telling them to pass and move, and I think it's a breath of fresh air. I think Rob ran his course when he went to the World Cup. Maybe he should have changed after the World Cup. They stuck with him, I think, through loyalty, and maybe because the World Cup wasn't the best for us.
Yeah, was he a bit too loyal to some of the senior players? Obviously, you know.
Yeah, I think possibly he was, and I think that was his downfall, because he's actually a good coach, and he's a lovely bloke as well. And I was disappointed when they finally released him, but I think maybe if looking back at it in hindsight, I think probably it would have been better if he'd left after the World Cup.
Went a bit stale, didn't it? It went a bit samey.
But you can't fault him though, because he did get into the World Cup.
Absolutely superb to what he done. He got him to the World Cup first time we've since God knows how long. So
that'll always be with him as a record.
You know, I didn't think I'd ever see Wales in the World Cup in my lifetime. So you know, everybody in Wales got a lot to thank Rob Page for.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got a couple of fun shorts here. So I don't know if you've seen many of them. So we're gonna do things like blind rankings and what evidence you got there, Steve?
Build a player basically. So you
build a player.
So link to your FIFA 96 cover photo.
Oh yeah,
slightly. So
it's like, you know, perfect left foot, perfect right foot, etc.
That's it.
Steve, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, we'll go with that one. So I'll see you on the cover of FIFA 96. I think it was Notts County Anglo-Italian match, wasn't it, against I forget the team now. You probably know the other player, do you?
Pressure.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a build your perfect FC 25 player, so FIFA 25 player essentially. So I'm going to go through a left foot, right foot, speed, strength, skills, passing. So I'll start with left foot.
So many good left footers. I'd have to go with Giggs.
Okay. Right foot.
Beckham.
Speed.
I'd probably go. I don't know.
Bale. Strength.
Mark Hughes.
Skills.
Salah.
Passing.
I can't think of his name. Real Madrid. Headbutted somebody.
Zidane.
Oh, yeah. And football IQ.
I can't say him. I'll think about that one. We're all thickies, aren't we? No, I apologise to the boys for that. There's only a few of us are thickies. IQ. It wouldn't be my mate Jason Bowen. He is thick. Coleman, maybe, because he went into management and did really well, so he's got a good IQ.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, so next we're going to do blind rankings. So I've got a list of 10 players. You're not going to know who's going to come. And you'll get some players, and you've got to try and make allowances because you're not sure which next one's going to come. But this is going to be best ever Wales forwards players. So we'll kick off with one of your former teammates, Rob Earnshaw.
So I've got to give him a mark.
Well, you've got to rank him either
rank
1 to 10.
1 to 10, right. I'll go 6.
6. Dean Saunders.
4.
John Charles.
No. I didn't see John Charles. That's a bit unfair.
This best ever players.
I go 5 then.
5, okay. Gareth Bale.
2nd.
Mark Hughes.
3rd.
Ryan Giggs.
Well, he wasn't a forward, he's a winger. I'll go 7th then.
7th. Ian Rush.
1st.
Craig Bellamy.
Got to be 8th, you know, or 7th.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you got 9 and 10 left now. So Aaron Ramsey.
He's midfield.
Well, you know, he scores a goal, doesn't he?
I give it 10.
10. John Toshak.
Oh, you got to be 9, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's a bit hard, that one. I wish I knew it was coming. Would have changed a couple.
Yeah, if you could change one, which would you change? Maybe for higher up.
I would have changed probably a couple, probably.
Yeah, you got Giggs at 7.
Giggs,
maybe a bit higher.
Giggs would have been a lot higher. I stick with my 1 and 2, Rush and Bale. I thought Bale was outstanding, to be fair. I mean, like the goal he scored for Madrid against Barcelona, I think it was, or Atletico, was it?
When he went off the pitch.
Off the pitch, yeah. is just incredible. And what he did for Spurs when he went to Inter Milan, you know, he destroyed him.
A hat-trick, yeah.
Unbelievable player. So he'd probably be joint first, him and Rush. I mean, because Rush was unbelievable, goal scoring. I would say Bale was the better player than Rush, but Rush was a just phenomenal goal scorer, wasn't he?
Would Giggs make your top 3 then there? Or would
I think so, yeah.
Okay. All right, man.
Yeah, okay. So I got a bit of a fun one. We got England versus Wales on this one. We've got an Englishman on the panel as well. No pressure.
If you didn't guess.
So here we go. We'll start with, just a list of 10, basically. So we're going to go Neville Southall or David Seaman?
Oh, Neville Southall.
Ashley Williams or John Terry?
Terry.
Kevin Ratcliffe or Terry Butcher?
Oh, Ratcliffe.
Chris Gunter or Neville Southall?
Well,
Or Gunter, Southall. I did that out. Gunter or Neville?
Gary Neville.
Gary Neville.
Oh.
Chris Gunter or Gary Neville?
I'll go Neville because he played at higher levels and consistent.
Aaron Ramsey or Joe Cole?
Ramsey.
Mark Hughes or Glenn Hoddle?
Oh,
Tough.
That's a tough one.
oh, that is tough. I gotta go with my Welsh mate. Hughes.
Ryan Giggs or David Beckham?
Oh. Giggs.
Ian Rush or Alan Shearer?
Rush.
Gareth Bale or Harry Kane?
Bale.
And John Charles or Bobby Charlton?
Bobby Charlton.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I think Wales won that one, didn't they?
7-4, was it?
I'm not sure.
Brilliant. Okay.
Great, Jeff.
All right.
That's
So,
that one.
yeah. So just moving on. Obviously, we touched on your career a little bit through the interview, but yeah, how did you first get into football? When did your first memories picking up a football and playing? And yeah, how did you kind of first get your feet on the grass?
I was lucky really because my dad ran a side, local side, Baglan Boys Club. My brother used to play, he was 6 years older than me, so always used to go and watch him play in the afternoons. So got interested in football that way. Tried to get in my dad's football team, no chance. Wasn't good enough. So I played in goals then for probably a year above my age because they didn't have a goalkeeper, so I played in goals for them. And then probably 14, 15, 16. When I got to 16, I was playing in goals for my brother's team, which was Baglan Boys Club senior team then. And then the team I used to play for, Baglan Boys Club, like the 16s, we couldn't go under 17s. There was no under 17s league, so we had to go senior league.
Right.
So we decided to go in the Neath League, and we changed our name to the Yellow Stars. But because Baglan Boys Club had two local sides in the seniors, so we stuck together, and I started playing out a little bit because we had a really good goalkeeper with us. So I started playing out, and I very rarely I didn't play that very often, to be fair. I'd be in, I'd be out, I'd be in, I'd be out. And then I think I grew a little bit and got stronger a little bit, and then I got a phone call from a fella from Pontardawe, I can't remember his name, and they were in the Welsh League Division 2 or Division 3 or whatever it was, and they asked me to go up and play for them. And I said, yeah, I'll give it a go, I'll try it. So I went up and gave it a go. I was there for about 2 or 3 months, and then Britain Ferry rang me, which were in the higher league, would I go and play for them? So I went down there and played for them, and then everybody was talking about long throws all the time, and I just thought it was the norm, you know.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I stayed at Britain Ferry then until I was 21, and then, as I said, we went down to Aberystwyth, played a game, come off the pitch, and I had 3 scouts asking me to go to their clubs. So it was like something I never dreamt of.
You mentioned your long throw there. Obviously, I think it's Guinness Book of Records for the longest throw, or it was at one point.
Yeah, I actually threw a lot further than the record itself, because what we did for the Guinness Book of Records, I had to do it at Wembley, and I had a 2-step run up, and it was raining.
Ah, well, okay.
And there was no excuse. I got small hands, so I couldn't really grip the ball. I could try it as much as I possibly could. And I threw 44.6 metres, and I was classed as world record because they were there. But previous to that, Shoot magazine used to come around the grounds. Used to do hardest shot, goalkeeper's throw, longest throw in, and whatever. Quickest man, which John Williams won. So I threw 46.7 metres, half the length of pitch. And they were there, but it wouldn't count because record breakers weren't there.
Yeah, they didn't have the official guys.
They had to have the official guys there. So I could throw a lot further than 44, but I couldn't. I never reset it. I just let it go.
And how did you discover that? Because it seems like a bit of a. Is it just one day you just went for it and tried to reach someone in the box, or?
I just picked up a ball one day and just threw it, and everybody thought, didn't think anything of it myself, to be fair, because I thought everybody could do it. You know, I just
Must been in the gym doing a load of pull-ups, surely.
no, I did nothing.
Strong back or like...
I used to play a lot of tennis.
Okay.
So whether it was like
Yeah.
arching my back to play tennis, to take a serve.
Definitely not going to not help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I used to try and copy McEnroe's serve when I used to play tennis. I was decent at tennis. And I used to, because he used to extend his back and then sort of come over the top. And I think it's probably from that.
Yeah.
But then, I got lucky, and I come off at Britain Fair at Aberystwyth, and I spoke to Middlesbrough first, and then I spoke to Man City and Wolves, and I decided to go to Middlesbrough. Why I wanted to go there, I do not know.
Long drive, isn't it?
Very long drive, and I was there for about 2-3 weeks. Played a couple of games, reserves. Bruce Rioch was manager, and Colin Todd was there with him. Can't think who the other one was. Anyway, I think he made a remark one day that get your hair cut or go home. So I jumped in the car and went home.
Yeah.
So he rang the next day, where are you? And I said, I'm home. He told me to go home.
You rocking like a,
Well, I used to have a mullet back in the day. And
shoulder length.
And I think to myself, what a muppet. But
They're back out now, them, are they?
yeah,
Seen a
probably.
few,
Grown in, yeah?
But I came back, and I went straight up not virtually straight up to Man City, but I went up to Man City. I played centre forward with Imha Varadi. And I was a winger. I'd never played centre forward before. But the manager came up to see me after the game, and he said, I thought you did well. He said, never played centre forward before. You looked okay. He said, I'd want you up pre-season to see what your attitude's like training-wise and work you out, in other words, really.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, no probs. So I came back home, and in the meantime, the following day, I think it was the following day, Terry Orth knocked my door and asked me to go and play in the reserve game down the Vetch. Funny enough, against Cardiff. And I went down and played one game. Then he asked me to play the following week. I went and played in that one. And then he said, right, come the end of the season, he said, I'll give you a professional contract. So I saw the season out then with Britain Ferry, and then I signed for Swansea the following year.
So is your dad at this point like accepting that you're actually a good player?
Well, yeah, it was quite funny because my mum and dad broke up at a time then, and I didn't see my dad for quite a while. And it was quite funny because he used to come to the Swans games but never tell me.
Okay.
Oh, right, okay.
And I found out about it, and I said, why don't you tell me? I'll get you tickets and stuff, you shouldn't be paying.
Yeah.
But I don't think he just wanted he don't want to put any pressure on me.
Yeah.
So
That's nice.
yeah, which is good. He didn't see me play for Wales, which is gutting because he lived and breathed football. He
You're doing a proud moment for
he
him,
ran
yeah.
kids teams all the way up, so he lived and breathed it. So it would be nice for him to see me put a Welsh shirt on, but he see me as a pro, so that was good enough for him. But yeah, so I was really lucky. Like I say, I never dreamt of being a player. Didn't think I was good enough. Didn't think I was strong enough. Whatever. And I got lucky at Swansea as well because I made my debut at Bristol City. I think we got beat 2-0. I played left back instead of Chris Coleman because Chris Coleman got injured on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And I got roped into playing left back, and I never played left back before either. So but I got lucky then because Terry actually sold me to Hereford. So I'm going to go up to Hereford to go and sign up there or to have talks.
Yeah.
That was one day. The following day, I went in to Swansea, and Terry had left the club. He's gone to Bradford.
Oh, wow, okay.
So everything was put on hold. So the new manager came in, and I played in a friendly at a Parks pitch against I can't think what college they were called. I think it was Avon College. I think they won like a cup, So Swansea said they'd play him in a friendly. So we played him in Vivian Park, which is down Aberavon. I played in that game, and I made my debut on a Saturday at home.
Wow.
It just changed in one moment. One manager came in, Ian Evans. And from going to Hereford, I played for the first team then on.
Yeah. What was it like? Obviously, you joined Swansea a little bit later than most pros at 22. Going into that first team environment, what was that like for you as obviously someone who grew up playing football all your career to actually get the kit and everything and walk out? And
mental, really, because I was never used to having your kit folded and washed for you, and your training kit there every morning for you. It was like, wow, what is this? Because it's something I'd never seen, never even dreamt of putting on a kit. Obviously, I had to improve my boots. I had to get better boots. But no, it was just I don't know. I didn't get caught up in the moment. I just thought, right, I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, seize the moment.
Yeah, I think I'll enjoy it, and if I come out, I can always say I've made 2 appearances or 3 appearances or 4 appearances. But then Ian Evans, he played me to the rest of the season, and then I think Terry came back then, and I thought, I'm gone. But Terry played me then, and I played. I think I played 156 consecutive games.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So I broke the club record then of consecutive games.
Consecutive appearances.
Yeah. So which was great for me, because when I first started, I had stress fractures. Getting used to training every day was tough. I was way behind everybody. When I got my fitness in, I think that was probably my strength, my fitness, because I could run for 90 minutes, but it certainly took me a while to adapt.
You still got the long hair at this point, or have you?
It went at the end of that season. It went at the end of that season. I had oh my God, I'm not telling you. I had the old cut one then, the Bros type one. Oh God, when you think back what you've done next. But it was so enjoyable, and the lads at Swansea were brilliant. Chris Coleman, Andy Melville, Robbie James. Robbie James was brilliant to me. I looked up to him like he was my dad. He was there if I ever needed advice, or if I was struggling with something, he'd help me, and he's brilliant.
Yeah, you said you played in Europe with Swansea. Was that through the Welsh Cup?
We qualified. We played Panathinaikos and Monaco.
Was that a highlight of your time there at Swansea, or what was the kind of when you look back at your time at Swansea? What was kind of your
that'll probably be the highlight
moment. Yeah,
I scored against Monaco, and when I look back at the team,
2-1 was it?
Yeah, 2-1.
Is that away
at home.
At home, okay.
Yeah.
When I look back at the team, and Arsene Wenger manager, and Rui Barros up top,
they had some
Georgie Weah, Emmanuel Petit, and you look back and you think, oh my God, I actually played against them and scored against them. It was like, but it was the experience of going abroad and playing like Panathinaikos. We used to get like half a decent crowd at Swansea, but when we went to Panathinaikos, it was 66,000 there.
Huge.
And you think to yourself, wow, what? Swansea we are, what are you doing? But it was just all fresh, all new. So I just tried to embrace it and take it all in.
Yeah.
I forgot. Somebody asked me a question last week, and I still don't know. They said, when did you score your first goal? And I went, can't tell you. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he said, when did you score your last goal? And I said, I think it was at Peterborough. Well, it would have been at Peterborough. I said, but I can't remember who it was against.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I can't. I can tell you goals I scored, but I can't tell you where I scored my first goal.
You could probably find that, I'd imagine, on the internet.
Do you know, we had a little look last night, me and Rob, and we couldn't find it.
Oh, really? Okay.
No. Yeah, me and Rob Phillips were on doing the radio last night, and I mentioned it because I said, because he said you scored when I actually went to Cardiff. I scored at Plymouth, and I went to celebrate, and the fans spat at me. So,
oh jeez.
So Rob said, remember that? So that's how it came up then about where did I score my first goal. But I still can't remember this day.
I remember you almost, well, you can't actually by the rules, but you threw the ball pretty much straight into the net of Crewe at one game away. And that was like from the side of the pitch as well. It was just an absolutely like huge.
Well, I did it at Wembley. We played in the Anglo-Italian, and Tony Garner had to claim it.
Yeah.
He had to run off, put his hand up, but he said he cleared it. And he said, when he went in, he said, I didn't touch it.
Straight in.
So you have actually scored from
I have scored from it, allowed as well. Yeah,
Legally,
yeah.
But,
How many goals do you think resulted from your throw-ins over the years?
You know,
It's better than a corner, surely.
I'd like to know how many throws I actually made through my career.
Yeah.
Because I could sue him for my back.
I was going to say,
Yeah, what is the toll it takes on it? Because you see, I remember Aaron Gunnison at Cardiff, he stopped taking as many throw-ins after he got so far into his career. What is it like to, what kind of toll does it take to do those big throws in game after game?
Your abs after the game are screaming. You know, when you're taking them left wing, right back, left back to get you out of trouble, you know, to get you up the field, and then you've got to take them into the box. And I must have averaged, I don't know, you've got to be averaging 15 throws a game.
Yeah.
And I made 700 odd appearances, so
yeah.
So it's
a lot of throws.
Yeah, it's a lot of throws. But you know, that was my weapon. That's what I was renowned for. That was what I was known for. And people always say to me, "Oh, you're the long throw boy," and I said, "Well, I'd rather be known for something than nothing." So you know, if I wasn't known for playing wise, I'd be known for throwing the
throws.
ball.
Yeah.
one name I came across at Swansea, I think you play with Alan Neil.
Yeah.
So we spoke to Neville South, as we said, and he told us a story about Alan Neil when he got called up to Wales to play Holland. This is his only cap, and Neville said he had an absolute brilliant game. Marked Van Basten out of the game. But never got called up ever again.
Strange, isn't
I
it?
don't know whether Alan had ever spoke at that moment to you when you played with him, or
No, because when I was at Swansea, and because I wasn't in the first team that season, really, I already made my debut, and then like towards the end of the season, you had the likes of Alan Nill, Melv, Coleman, David Duff. They were the back four, and then you'd have like Robbie James, Alan Curtis, and Tommy Hutch, and everybody playing. So we trained away from them. You know, it was always a separate. You'd get called in now and end up train with them, or if you're in the squad. But it was crazy. I mean, my debut, they have a five-a-side on a Friday. Swansea used to, and it's quite severe. It's no pulling out of tackles. And Chris got injured, and I got the shout to go over to play in the five-a-side. So I played in the five-a-side, and I megged. Well, I didn't meg him. I clipped Terry's ankle, but the ball went through his leg. Right, so I didn't want to laugh because Terry's quite aggressive. And the next tackle, he smashed me up in the air, and I'm thinking to myself, hang on a minute. So after the five-a-side, anyway, he said, "You're in the squad tomorrow. Are you playing?" I said, "Pardon?" He said, "You're playing left back instead of Coleman." I went, "Oh my God, I was shitting myself." Because I got to go to Bristol. It was like a local derby. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to mark somebody who's just been sold to Man United. I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I've never played left back.
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah, you'll be all right. You'll be fine." I didn't know what a pre-match meal was. I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
So they picked me up in Baglan on the way. So we travelled up to Bristol, went into the hotel, and I sat there, and they put my food there. There was a piece of chicken, beans, and a piece of toast. Chicken beans. So I picked up my knife and fork. I was just going to start to eat it. And Peter Bodak, who was a character, he said, "Whoa, wait for your chips." Oh, I know, all right, okay. So I sat there like that. So Terry's tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Come on, eat your food. You're not nervous, you?" I said, "No, Terry, I'm waiting for my chips." bang, punched me in the back of the leg. Chips? You don't have chips? But I was so
Stitched you up.
But I was so naive.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I was so naive. I never knew anything. It was.
Oh man.
Oh, it was crazy. And I came in half time, and I think it was Bodak again. He said, "Are you hungry?" I said, "I'm starving." He said, "Sorry, you'll have a Mars now." I went, "All right." So I've gone in. I said, "Where's my Mars bar?" Terry's gone. Because I didn't know, I didn't have a clue. You know what I mean? I got stitched up so many times. Yeah, they used to stitch me up. And it took me, oh God, a good 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they even got me into they used to take me out to a nightclub, right, in Swansea on a Wednesday night. We were over 25, so I was only 22. But the boys used to take me in.
Mm.
So one day, again, Bodak again, go and get a VIP pass up the secretary's office. So I run up the steps. And he said, "What are they going to do for your eggs?" I went, "Can I have a VIP pass for Barron's, Harper's, I think it was." And he went, "Leave it with me." So he come the next day and he gave me a Harper's pass, VIP thing.
It's the club secretary now.
Yeah. So he said, "I'll give it to one of the boys to give to you after training legs." I said, "All right, brilliant." I didn't know this now. So we go to the training ground. So Terry calls a little circle. He said, "Before we start training, lads," he said, "I've got a presentation to make. Leggy, here's your Harper's pass." Oh my God. I went to grab it and he went, "Harper's pass?" Bang.
Oh my God.
Made me run up and down the bank 6 times. Oh, I was so naive. I was so thick. But
You one of the youngest in the team then, were you? Or you like picked on a lot?
I was 22, but I was older than Coleman. I was, and
Yeah.
people like that. Just naive and
Yeah,
young in the
behind
brain
ears,
compared to
yeah.
them, like, because they clued in. But
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose you wouldn't have gone through like the youth system and
no.
the old like YTS scheme and stuff. But
Catching up for last time. Like.
Oh,
They
God.
kinda
I just
Yeah.
want to listen to the guy.
Yeah, they stitched me up quite a few times, but I learned quite quickly towards the end.
So you moved on to Notts County.
Yeah, it was a gut feeling. I went up there and I had 2 3/4 years there. Loved my time up there. Great club. Should have got promoted, as we said. Missed out in the last couple of games where we blew it against Derby and Oxford, which was a gutter. And then the following season we got relegated, which was incredible because we lost the likes of Mark Draper, Craig Short, his brother as well. I think we had injury to Steve Cherry, the goalkeeper, and stuff. We things just didn't go for us, and we got relegated. And then that season, then we were top of the league when I actually got sold to Birmingham. But the chairman called me in that day, and it was crazy because me and Paul Devlin were top goal scorers for Notts County that season. That season when we got relegated, and we went down to Bournemouth, and both of us were subs. And we kept looking at each other, why were we sub like? So we had a new manager in, and he was a bit of a nutter, to be fair.
Did you have 4 managers in one season?
Yeah.
There was other season this season.
Russell Slade.
Yeah.
Kendall was there.
Howard Kendall. Howard Kendall was brilliant. Mick Walker. And who was the one that came
Wayne
in?
Jones?
No, it wasn't Wayne.
Steve Nichol?
No. Nico came.
Colin Murphy?
Colin Murphy.
I got him wrote down here.
And Colin Murphy. Colin Murphy came in. He was just nuts. Some of the things he used to say to people. And anyway, we were both subs. We go back into training the following day, and he said to me, go training with the boys. So we went up training, and he changed his mind. No, don't go training. Go to the leisure centre with the boys to have a jacuzzi and a swim and stuff. All right, so we went. Me and Paul Dev went down there. We didn't even get on. So we all knew that Dev had been linked with Birmingham because he was a Brummie lad.
Yeah.
So we were both called then to go back to the ground. So one of the boys said, "What are you doing here, Lex?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I must be doing the press for the game Saturday," because there was a presser. And Dev, we seen Barry Fry's car there, so we knew Dev was on his way. So Dev went in, And I went in after him, and the chairman said, I've sold you, mate. I said, pardon? He said, I've sold you, go in. I said, I'm not going anywhere. He said, yeah, you're going. He said, you're going to Birmingham. I said, I'm not. And Baz was sitting behind me. I didn't even know. And he went, banged a hammer and he went, sold to the fat bastard.
Weird.
And he said to the chairman, in front of the chairman, he said, come to a big club. Come to a proper club. If this is in front of the chairman. Like.
That's his spiel, like.
Yeah. So I said, can I go home and discuss it with my wife first? Like, yeah, he said, go and discuss it. So I went home, spoke to my wife. She said, oh, what, are we going to manage? Because we lived in Notts. I said, I just travelled because I knew Michael Johnson was there as well anyway. So we travelled, and Ian Bennett was from Worksop, which was just up the road. So it was like 3 or 4 of us travelling to Birmingham. So I went to sign then, but he was nuts. Baz was nuts. But I had a great time in Notts County.
Yeah, it seems a little bit like that in football. It's like you're just one day you decide you're sold, and hang on a minute, I've got a life here. Like I
think Murphy. I don't think he liked me and Dev that much. He liked us as players. I don't think he liked us as personalities. I think he knew we were going out into the towns on a Saturday night on a drink and stuff, and we were known for it. To be fair, we were always out on a Saturday night. We'd come in at like 4 o'clock in the morning, bladdered, but that's what we had in our days.
Yeah.
But I don't think he liked that sort of side of us. Although we performed on the pitch, it didn't matter to him. He wanted
the professionalism,
control
on and off,
So he sent us down to the net of the Barry Fry. And
So, I mean, it sounds like there's plenty of stories of Barry Fry.
Oh, Barry was nuts. I think the first week I was there, they had a gypsy's curse at St Andrews. Mm-hmm. That's what they told Barry anyway. And he had to run into the 4 corner flags and pee in every corner in 60 seconds.
60 seconds?
or 1 minute or 2 minutes or something like that. Yeah. And he did it.
He did it.
He's nuts, honestly. Oh, wow. But when he used to run up the channel with his arm waving, didn't he? And he was hysterical, man. I mean, some of the stories. I mean, there's one. We hadn't won away from home. Our first game was Wolves, and we had Big Kevin Francis.
Yeah.
And I'd only met Kev for 1 day. So Big Kev came up to me, he's looking down at me, he's like 6'7". Yeah. And he's gone, right legs, I went, yeah. And I'm like that. He's gone, right, first throw it at the keeper. And I went, what's the point? He went, throw it at the keeper. On his line, he went, throw it at the keeper. And that was his words, right? So I get the first throw, and I thought, I got a little angle as well, so I thought, right, I'll throw it at the keeper. So I threw it at the keeper. Oh, he buried him.
Your keeper was in the back of the net,
Put him in the back of the net. Yeah. He went, throw the next one at him, he won't come. So I threw the next one at him, and you could see the keeper, I guess. We played Wolves.
This 54 or whatever it was, signed players materialise?
Well, I don't know, because when I arrived, as I said, it was like 2 months later, down the road, a bus came in to our training ground. And I said to Barry, so we having a friendly or something, are we? And he went, no, it's the other players. And I said, what do you mean the other players? He went, it's the other players. I said, what other players? He said, the ones that have been training at the other training ground. I went, who are they then? I haven't seen them.
Didn't even know they was there?
No, I didn't even know they existed.
Wow. Absolutely bad.
Yeah.
That's where his tactics were.
But it was brilliant. To crown it all off, when he started about signing for a big team, myself and Paul Devlin get there, go to the training ground. Wastills, it was called. So we're sitting there and we're waiting for our kit. So we're looking at the boys and we're thinking, he's in yellow, he's in blue, he's in green. So Barry comes in, he said, get changed then. And waiting for a kit, Baz. He said, bring your own kit. Me and Dev were like, what? Bring your own kit? He went, yeah, bring your own kit. I said, are you serious? I said, you said a big club, Baz. He said, it's a big club. He said, I didn't tell you we were getting kit, though, did I? Right? I trained. I love Lanzarote t-shirt and BF tracksuit bottoms.
Wow.
Very right.
And I had a Birmingham scarf and I love Lanzarote t-shirt. I had to cut it out over there. But that was bad. But he was brilliant.
Kept you on your toes, like, in a funny way.
Yeah. Oh, he was nuts, honestly. He was, and he's the nicest bloke ever.
I'm guessing when you moved on, there was he still there when you?
No, Trevor
Francis,
came in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, Trevor came in, changed the whole complexion of the team, and
Yeah, polar opposite, I guess.
yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably Trevor was probably the best player in the training.
Right. Okay.
He could still play. He was like, I know he couldn't play a match, like, but
Yeah.
in little spits and spats in training, he was like unbelievable.
You talked about your loan spell at Ipswich. You was there for a while, and then Reading and Peterborough. So how do those moves materialise?
Well, Reading was a mistake of mine. Jason Bowen had gone to Reading.
Yeah, you followed him around a lot in your career, didn't you? So
We followed each other quite a bit, yeah.
6 clubs was it? I think I saw
6.
Yeah.
Because Irene took internationally with me, and then
7 then. Or was that
Yeah.
7? Is that okay?
and Newport.
Yeah.
8.
So and Wales. So it was like we were everywhere together. But
Do you used to room together when you used to go away as well?
yeah,
Or? Yeah.
but it wasn't like. I think when he went to Reading, he got sold, and I'd gone to Ipswich. So he was already at Reading a couple of months before I even went to Ipswich. So when I went back to Birmingham, I think the manager asked Bose, called him in the office and said, "Look, what about me going to Reading?" And Bose said, "Yeah, where do you want him to play?" And he said, "Oh, you'll play their field, blah, 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 blah." So he rang up and it just happened that way. He didn't put like a word in for me and say, "Look, go and get him, he's doing nothing." He was pulled in to say, "Look, I've seen he's gone back to Birmingham. What do you think?"
We can get him, yeah.
My first game for Reading was against Ipswich. I got sent off. But I smashed the winger. Who went to Spurs, I can't remember his name now. He was quick. And I thought, you're not going past me.
He's your agent, really, then, Bowen? A little bit. Like your agent?
Well, Bose he got me the Reading move, but then I got him the Cardiff move, so...
Okay.
Well, I say that because we ended up... Tommy Burns came in and came in with 7 players behind him. And Majeski Stadium was just being built then. So it was a case of we weren't training there, we never played there because it was just being built. But he took us down to Majeski Stadium, stood us in a centre circle, and he went, "Right, you over there, 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 you over there." And he said, "Right, see that group there?" Because he pulled us in our groups. He said, "That group there, I'm like that about you lot. You, I like you. We like you. You're out."
Wow.
So it was like 4. Jason Bowen, Lambert. I can't remember the other 2. Or Gareth Davis. And somebody else. 4. Out. And he said, "You deal with them and bother with them and you'll be with them." So I said, "You may as well put me with them now." I said, "It's my best mate." He went, "I'm serious." And I said, "No, I'm serious." So anyway, I started the season. And all of a sudden, Bowen was back in the squad. And we played in the Bristol Rovers, at Bristol Rovers. Well, he took Bose off half-time. So Bose took his shirt off, threw it. So he's had a right pop of Bose or whatever. So as I'm walking out, Jason shouted to me now, "I'll run your bath for you, Leggs." So I just laughed. So he took me off after 10 minutes into the second half.
Wow.
We were winning 1-0, I think. And he took me off by the dugout so I couldn't get back to the dressing room.
Right.
It was the old ground, you had to walk all the way around. So when I went in, Jason said, "Where have you been?" And he said, "Your bath's cold." Right? So he said, "I knew you were coming off."
Yeah.
So from that date, then I was in what they call the dead squad. We used to train in the afternoon with Alan Pardew at 2:00.
Yeah.
We were nowhere near the first team. Didn't want to say.
What do you think the thought process is behind that? Because obviously, it's not very good management skills because you was obviously playing well, contributing. You was playing well for Birmingham as well. to just kind of, it seems very wasteful to
it was shocking what
players
the
like that.
way he did it. And to be fair, the players kept us going. They kept putting nooses up in the changing rooms and skeletons and things like that. And we used to have a bit of fun about it. But Pardew was just, it was awkward for Alan because he had 5 players to train in the afternoon. You know, it was not fair to him.
Pretty tough to.
And then Frank got hold of it that we were out of the squad and out of this and out of that. So he rang the pair of us to meet us, and we met him. And he said, "Oh, come to Cardiff." And I said, "I can't come to Cardiff." You're having a laugh. I said, "Jason can because he's a Merthyr lad." I said, "I can't come to Cardiff." And he went, "Come to Cardiff, you'll be all right. You'll win them over and things like that." And I said, No, I can't come. But after 2 weeks, Tommy gave me a week off to go and find a club. And I can remember he rang me and I was on the golf club. And he said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Ratcliffe." He said, "Ratcliffe? What club's that?" I said, "Golf club." And he went, "I told you to find a football club, not a golf club." I said, "Well, I'm looking at this one." I said, "I'm thinking of coming and member you." Right, he went absolutely ballistic. I had to play in the reserve game. Alan Parry rang me up. And this is God's honest truth. Alan Parry rang me up. He said, "I need you to play at Gillingham tomorrow, centre half." I said, "Centre half?" He went, "Yeah." He said, "I've got no players. I need you to come down and play." I said, "Manager won't let me play." I was banned. He said, "I'll sort it out." He said, "Get yourself to Gillingham tomorrow, you're playing." So I go down and I play. And he said, "Look, come in the next day to do it right. Otherwise, I'll get a bollocking for not looking after you after games because, you know, they could go in and have check you over and whatever." So I went in and he's knocking the window. And I'm outside, right, just walking around. And I got a couple of players with me. And he said, "Legg, he's knocking and waving at you." I said, "Let him wave at me." I said, "I'm not going to answer him." So I've gone round again, he's banging. So I've gone in. So Alan Paddy's sitting there like a little school child, I guess. I'm thinking, "Oh, no." So he's had a go. He said, he's got his finger and he's going, "What were you doing playing in the first reserve game yesterday?" I said, "Get your finger out of my face now." I said, "I don't care how you speak to me. You get your finger out of my face." I said, "I'll knock you out." He went, "You knock me out?" I said, "Do you want to try me?" And he said something. And I said, so I shoved him. So he stuttered back a bit. And he said, "You got no right to play." I said, "Look," I said, "I've done what I was asked to do." I said, "Alan asked me to play. I've gone and played. It's not my fault. I've helped Alan out. He needed a player." I said, "If you've got a problem with that, it's your fault." I said, "I'm nowhere near the first team." I said, "I ain't bothered. I don't want to play for you anyway. Can't stand you."
Yeah.
Because I knew Frank. I could have gone at Huddersfield as well. It was another club that rang me as well. I think it was Gillingham, after the game as well.
Yeah.
So I rang Frank up and I said, "Look, I got to get out of there." I said, "I'll end up hitting him. And then I'll have a bad reputation." I said,
That's probably what he wants in a way as well, isn't it? Trying to goad you into it.
Yeah. So I rang Frank. I rang John Majeski, the chairman or the owner. I said, "Look, I pushed the manager yesterday. I said, I've got to leave the club. I said, otherwise it's going to end up where something's going to happen and it's not going to be beneficial for the club. It's not going to be beneficial for me."
Yeah.
I said, "Get my contract, rip it up, and I'll leave." And he said, "What? You just leave?" I said, "Yeah, I'll just leave." He said, "No money?" I said, "No." I said, "I'll go." And he went, "You're allowed so much money, tax-free." I said, "Yeah." He said, I'll give you a check for that."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "You don't have to." I said, I'm leaving the club. He said, "No, I brought you here and I've made a mistake."
Yeah.
So he said, he's wrote me a check.
He did the right thing there. And
he sent me on my way. I went to Cardiff. I played, I think, 6-7 games into the season. When I eventually started playing, because I didn't play for the first 5 or 6 games because I was getting hammered. And Reading tried to buy me back for 100 grand. Pardew.
Wow. Yeah, when he took over, he wanted you back then.
Yeah. But Steve Bally wouldn't sell me.
Yeah.
Which is like, I only found out about that several years later.
Right. Okay.
But,
But at the time, would you have thought about it? Because obviously you was getting abuse from
I
the
think I would
fans
have.
and-
Yeah, I think I was definitely would have thought about it because 3 months of hell.
Yeah.
Getting spat at, thrown coins, abused. Game days was like police escort. Because it was that bad.
Yeah. It seems odd that kind of thing. I think if the same thing happened now, don't think it would be as bad because you've had like players like Stephen Cocker, he played at Swansea, come to Cardiff, and there wasn't really much made about it. And
I think it was probably worse for me because I think because I used to like stood out with my hair because I had blonde hair probably, and rather than another player, and I threw the ball in or whatever. I don't know, but when it settled down and everything worked out, I had my best time.
yeah,
It was a complete unbelievable. It was just one game that turned it around for me, and then I was just like a hero, really.
yeah.
What was that game? Do you remember the turning point with the fans?
Yeah, and it was the old kit man who was I can't think of his name now. He's blessed him. I think he's passed away now. And he said to me, you know why you're playing in this game? I was the only first team player playing in it. It was in the Welsh Cup against Swansea. And he said, you know why you're playing in this game, didn't you? And I said, yeah, so I've got to, put myself about and try and get a goal. And he said, no, it's easy, he said. Just smash somebody. I said, are you serious? And he went, just tackle somebody as hard as you can straight away. I said, don't be so stupid. I said, what if I get sent off? He said, this is why you're playing in the Welsh Cup. He said, you're not bothered. So they kicked off and they passed the ball out to the right winger. So I've just hit him as hard as I could.
Do you remember who it was? The
winger?
Yeah.
I can know his face and I know his name. I tell you, I got Alzheimer's. I have to tell you. And I hit him. And Cardiff fans sang my name for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
One tackle. And I just thought to myself, I've scored 4 or 5 goals. You've spat at me, you've thrown bricks at me, stones at me. And I've had one tackle and it's...
Because it was against Swansea and it was kind of like, I'm blue now, type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was, I still love my time at Swansea.
Yeah.
And people, I don't think people can understand it. They say, why have you got affection for both clubs? You should be one or the other. I had my best, look, don't get me wrong, I had my best time at Cardiff because the stage of my career, my age, and we promoted, relegated, promoted. Every year was something we played for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Cardiff was the best time for me. Sam Mann came in. He made the club as well, because it was like all new, fresh ideas, and he was buying big players like Kavanagh and people like that, and his ambition to get up the leagues. So it was like breath of fresh air, and I owe Swansea my start of my career, but I owe Cardiff the end of my career where I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Because
Again,
34.
Yeah.
How bad did the abuse get? Was it just during matches?
Oh yeah, we had death threats. We had to have mail every Monday morning, probably a stack of that. Right. Can you remember Winston Faber?
Yeah, he was a Dutch player, wasn't he?
Yeah. He opened one of my mail. It was a razor blade, cut his hand.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it got serious. We had the police in a couple of times, but it wasn't just from Cardiff.
Right.
It was from Swansea and Cardiff.
Because you've gone and played for Cardiff.
Because I've done the worst thing ever is go to Cardiff. But I'd gone round. I know I hadn't gone from Swansea to Cardiff.
Yeah.
At one stage I could have, because I think one of the Cardiff managers put an offer in for me when I was at Swansea. But I know I'd gone to Notts County, I'd gone to Birmingham, I'd gone to Ipswich, I'd been to Reading, and then I went to Cardiff. So it was like a few years.
Yeah, a good couple of years in between.
Good few years in between. I thought, it'll be all right. But it didn't turn out to be that way. I was probably a week away from leaving Cardiff. I was going to go to Huddersfield. I rang Huddersfield and told them I'm going to come up next week.
Yeah.
And I told Frank. And Frank said, just give me one more week. And that's when it turned.
Yeah. But you had a good season that. Well, that was the year we got promoted from, what would it been, Old Division 3?
Yeah, the old division. Well, that was when Mark Delaney was with us.
Yeah, Mark Delaney. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the players. Kevin Nugent was there.
Yeah,
John Williams up front.
Williams,
he was a former Swansea player as
well.
well.
Yeah, Willow never got any stick for it.
He never did. He
never got any stick for it at all.
Yeah, it was great. Jeff Eckard as well.
Jeff,
he's probably one of my all-time favourites.
Oh, Jeff's a lovely lad. Tyler now.
He's really?
Yeah, he did a Tyler in my house the other day for me. Yeah, he's a great lad.
Yeah.
He's sound. We had a good side.
Yeah.
Carpenter, midfield.
Carpenter.
Danny Hill.
Was Jason Fowler there then? Or
Yeah,
was
Fowler. Foxy was there.
Because he had some skill on him, didn't he? He could just turn it on.
Unbelievable. When he wanted to.
Yeah, it was one of them. I was a bit. I suppose Kevin Nugent, another one, which he went from the other way, didn't he? He went from Cardiff and then he ended up at Swansea.
Yeah.
So you do get a few transfers back.
They do. Yeah, and I think it's easier going that way because when I was at Swansea, Terry Boyle came to us, Jimmy Gilligan came to us, and it was okay. Yeah, I think it was just that way.
Yeah, it is a bit of a strange one, but yeah, obviously you had that run, and then went up to Division. What was it? I'm trying to remember what it was called back then. Division 2, League 1 now. Yeah, it was a bit unlucky on that season. Wasn't it?
Got beat to Stoke.
Yeah,
playoffs. Yeah,
I was thinking of when they went up and then went back down.
Yeah, that was year 2000. I was young.
To the centenary year, wasn't it? And yeah, it was a bit unlucky. I think there was a game at Notts County, it might have been actually, where it just went. They went against them. A couple of results, kind of, and they finished fourth. Was it fourth bottom in the end?
Yeah, I think we just it was that Gillingham we got relegated because I got sent off. I smashed Carlos Harbour. I don't know, because I played with him at Reading, Carlos Harbour, and I thought, right, I knew what he was like, so I thought if I kick him now, he won't want to know. So I booted him, and the ref sent me off.
Right, you thought you could get away with an early one,
but it didn't go down too well in the dressing room.
But when Sam Aman comes in, I think it
was unbelievable. The time.
What was the kind of like that, did he sort you out wages wise?
I can tell you the first day it was incredible because I took half my wages to come from Reading to go to Cardiff.
Yeah,
I just said I'd take half my wages to come, and I went down and whatever, signed and then. Well, anyway, when Sam came in, we were training up in the training ground. We had a upstairs where we used to have our food. So we come in off training and Sam was downstairs, and the apprentices, like they come running to you and saying, wasn't us. And what are you on about? Sam had gone and knocked this person's house, a woman, and paid her £5 per tyre to let him down. Swear my life, right? So I've got 2 tyres down.
Yeah.
So I've come downstairs and I've gone, a bit of swearing at him, and I was going, what are you doing, Sam? You can't do this to it. Come outside, son. So there's like 5 of us, all the tyres down. Come outside, opened his door, his boot. Do you want to buy a pump, a tenner? So he paid her a £5 and charged us a tenner. To pump her back up.
Jeez.
So Alan Cork and Goldie said, just get him back, Legs. Get him back. I said, yeah, all right, I'll get him back. So for months, we had a fight. I took his windscreen wipers off his windows when he was screeching. They put sheep in his office. I actually had a bucket of something, and I threw it over him, and he had a nice grey suit on, and I was up on the veranda, and I tipped this thing, and I let it go. The bucket hit him on the head and everything, and he's full of just food slops, and he's got interviews. And he just looked up and he went, "Welcome to World War III." But I used to come in at the dressing room, and my suit would be cut in half with the kneecaps, or I'd have no buttons or half a tie or no collar, or But it went on for months, and he called me in the end. He said, "I think we'll call a truce." I said, "All right, then we'll call a truce." But he was nuts. I mean, I had a great time there because he brought the likes of Carvin, Peter Thorne in, Spencer Pryor. I know Spencer wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but he was a great lad.
Yeah.
That was my sort of first memories going on Cardiff City. Dunedin Park, obviously with yourself playing Earnshaw.
Earnshaw playing.
Yeah, what a player. I remember him. Well, watching him as a kid.
Willie
15.
Boland, Carvin midfield. That was the start of the team then.
Yeah.
That was.
You got promoted from Division 3 with 3-3 with Leo Fortune West. I think he scored that trick against York. And then you go into you went pretty close, obviously, with the Stoke game. But one of the main games from your time there was the Leeds United FA Cup game. Atmosphere. Like to me, when I was in the ground, it felt like there was. I was saying to the boys on the way up, it felt like there was 40,000, even though there was like only 20 in the ground. And unbelievable atmosphere. Leeds top of the Premier League,
top side, wasn't it?
Obviously you was key part of the game because of the incident with Alan Smith as well.
It was incredible. It was incredible. We used to try and work on something like, I don't know, bits and bobs through the week. We worked on nothing that week. We just played five-a-side, head tennis, just didn't have a laugh. And I can remember Green Kavanagh saying to Corky, he said, what are we going to work on then? And he went, Corky, he said, Carv, he said, nothing really. He said, they're top of the Premier League. He said, they're in the Champions League quarter-final. He said, what do you want to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Game over,
yeah. So he kept us all relaxed all week. Just no pressure on us whatsoever. And he said things in the changing room before the game that panned out, worked absolutely to perfection. Calv's free kick, you can't say tell Calv you got to make sure you're going to get it in the top corner, because it doesn't always happen, does it? But all the little bits and bobs he was telling us to do on the pitch worked out. We all know all that. We all know Alan Smith is a hothead. Yeah. So you wind him up.
Is there anything you said to him to get him to
react? Was a couple of things like.
You should experience to get him to bite. Yeah,
there was a couple of things. You just try, because they're pros, aren't they? They're Premier League. I mean, but I still believe. I know we won the game that day, right? But I still believe the fans won us the game because they didn't want to go out wide. Robbie Fowler he said, "No, I'm not going out there." I swear on my life, that's what he said. He said, "I'm not going out there." He said, "They're nuts." He said, "No chance. I'm not going out there."
They want to get close to the touchline.
Yeah.
Coin.
The referee got it with the coin, didn't he? On the day,
he said, "I'm not going out there." He said, "No chance." Yeah. I think the fans won us the game that day. I honestly believe that. I know Smith got sent off and Ferdinand got carried off.
Yeah.
But I still believe the fans got us the win, because I think without the aggression from the fans, I think they would have just dominated, because they went 1-0 up straight away with Vituka.
Yeah.
He was a player, man, he was a good player.
Yeah, and you look at their team and you think, oh God, how did we manage to win that?
Yeah,
So, but I think the funniest thing for me that game was Sam in the dressing room after the game.
Yeah,
Robbie and had some champagne sprayed in his eyes. Excuse the language. Sam went, "Oh, fuck my eyes," because it's burning his eyes, isn't it? And Sky went, Sam, you still on Sky Live? Please, no swearing. Oh, my fucking eyes. But he was nuts, he's bonkers, and he just changed the old Cardiff. For all the bad things he done towards the end, he made the club. Yeah. The club's there now for what he done.
It really laid the foundation for the next 20 years, didn't it, really? Yeah. Going on to your other kind of memorable game at Cardiff, the playoff final, or maybe even the last run into the season. What was that like, walking out at Millennium Stadium? It was, they say it's supposed to be 50-50, but I still think there was maybe about 50,000 Cardiff fans there against QPR, and finally getting over the line and getting promoted to Division 1 as well as then Championship. What was that day like leading up into the game, and kind of, obviously we talked about like like Andy Campbell's winner and Earnshaw coming off, just like your memories of that day.
Yeah, it was crazy. When we left the Vale, we stayed in the Vale, and we're driving down and we go past the old, go past Ninian Park and then past the pub where they all used to stand outside, and it was just a sea of blue. Just everywhere you looked was just a sea of blue. And then we got into the ground, and he sort of like ushered in, so you don't really see the outside of it. You could see like little bits and bobs. And then when he went out to warm up, it's normally a few people there, but it was like rammed, and you think, oh my God, it's going to be full house today. And the atmosphere, and it was like we just said, we can't lose. We must not lose today. I think that was the attitude between the players, and I think Cav grabbed us in a huddle before. Lenny did all his tactics and what he said and whatever, and then I think Cav got us in a group, and he said, "Look, it's a home. We're at home. We can't lose. Now if we're at Wembley and we lose, we may get away with it. We can't lose here." And it was that. I think it was that little thing that the boys thought to themselves, he's right, yeah. We're in Cardiff. We got to win. And when he took Ernie off, Cav looked at me and I just looked away because I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
And he could see what Cav was thinking. I was going, I just sort of shook my hands. And he went, but it was the right move. It was a brave move.
Yeah.
It could have ended his career, that.
Yeah.
Ernie.
Well, like you were saying, Earnshaw, you could do nothing all game and, score a hat-trick. To
He'd
take him
always
off,
pop up
extra time.
when you need a goal.
And a penalty taker as well.
Yeah.
It was, a brave move, but it paid off. And what was the feeling like when you saw, obviously, Gareth Wadley plays the ball over the top, Andy Campbell, he's gone, he's gone past Stanishew, I think it was, and then he lifts the ball over the keeper, perfect execution of it. What was that kind of, obviously the stadium just erupted.
Oh, well, honestly, you can never replace it. I was just stunned, really. You're just looking around the ground and you're thinking, look at this noise.
Yeah.
Because when you're on the pitch, it comes down onto you.
Wow,
where in normal stadiums, it goes up. But in Millennium, it comes down onto you. So sometimes you can't hear people. Lenny's shouting something or Cav shouting something, you can't hear anything. Because it comes down, onto your body, onto your head. And it was like... it was just an incredible noise, and because as soon as we scored, Lenny took me off to put, I think it was Crofty on, or somebody.
Gareth Roth was there, yeah.
It was somebody that he brought on defensively just to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Because I said to him, "What do you take me off for?" And he went, "I've got another defender." I said, "Well, you shouldn't take me off. I'm not happy." And then obviously the final whistle went. I was just winding him up.
Yeah.
Because everybody was a bag of nerves because it was 3 or 4 minutes left to go.
Yeah, it was still a fair bit of time, wasn't it?
And people were getting panicky, so I thought, well, if I make laugh and joke, hopefully it's not so serious. But I disappeared, I did, because after we got the cup, all the boys went round.
Yeah.
I went in the dressing room on my own. Yeah. I sat in that dressing room on my own. I got a photo of it. How they got a photo of it, I don't know. I'm in a pair of shorts, no socks, no top, hands on my knees, just sitting there.
Just trying to process it.
Yeah,
all.
just trying to think, what have we just done? It was just mental. I never went home for 2 days. I didn't go home for 2 days.
Well, was you on that much of a high?
My wife was ringing me, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm still in the pub." We were in Stereophonics place. Oh,
right, yeah.
And I stayed there for 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah. It was unbelievable. I went home in my suit.
Brilliant.
Well, like I said, Cardiff haven't played. That's the level they've got to, and that's where they've stayed. Isn't it? So it was a big day in the history of Cardiff. Really.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's part of the history now that we were involved in, and that's nice to look back at. But you can see the players that beat Real Madrid, can you? What they thought, when they did that. But no, it was a good squad, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, because Lenny went in and Dave Jones came in and took him up to the Premier League, didn't he? So
Yeah, pretty
It
much.
was progressed and it's gone up and down. It's a shame they're out where they are now. You know, I'd like to see all the Welsh clubs in the Premier League.
Yeah.
You know, imagine getting Wrexham, Swansea, and Cardiff, and Newport.
Yeah.
Imagine getting them all in the Premier League.
It can only be good for Welsh football, can't it? So yeah.
Well, yeah, you think at least one should be up there, really, you know.
Yeah. If we got
for
two
Welsh
in
football.
it, no,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Well, the South Wales derby, that was amazing when it was in the Premier League. You know, those such great occasions and puts Welsh football on the map, doesn't it?
Absolutely,
So,
and
So obviously, just your exit then from Cardiff. It kind of ended on a bit of a sour note. So if our notes are right, they offered you a 30% of your original contract. Is that right? Or
50.
Oh, it's 50,
really?
was it? So they offered 50% of
Yeah,
your contract, but. Was that disappointing? Because obviously you were such a big part of the side, and
Yeah, it was.
not to get to play in the Championship or Division 1.
yeah, and because I spent most of my career in the Championship, really,
Mm.
at Notts County and Birmingham and whatever, and Reading. But it's disappointing because of the way it happened. Because I was told by the manager that I'd have a new contract, go away on holidays, relax, come back, sign your new contract. So when I got back off holidays, I had a phone call off Lenny to go in and see Lenny. He sat me down. He said, I don't know how to tell you this. He said, but Sam wants to give you 50% pay cut, where everybody had a virtually 50% rise.
Mm.
And I said, all right. I said, I'll tell you straight. I said, tell him to stick it up his ass. I said, I'll go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's disappointing the way to treat you like, a Cardiff legend at that point. And
So
do you think it was to do with, like, obviously you'd been 37 at that point. Do you think that was part of it, or?
No, because he tried to get rid of me for years. Well, he used to say to me, "I'll replace you," and I used to say, "No, you won't replace me because I'm your best player, man." And he'll go, "No, I'll replace you," and I said, "No, you won't." I said, "You'll try to replace me, but I'll be better than him."
Yeah,
and I'll make sure I'm better than him. And I think that's the fight I used to try and fight. I used to like to fight somebody or get something in my mind so I could go on the field with the anticipation that, all right, I've got to beat him now, I've got to beat him.
Your motivation.
Yeah. My motivation was I had to be better than somebody else.
Yeah.
So when he used to bring people in, when he brought Barks in,
Chris Barker, yeah.
I knew then that I wasn't going to be playing left back or sweeper. I needed to get left wing. So I had to be better than the wingers he brought in. Lenny said he didn't know how to put it. He didn't know how to do it, and he put him in an awkward spot, actually.
Yeah.
And I said, look, Lenny, it's not your fault. I said, don't worry about it. I said, I'll just move on. It's not a problem. I knew Barry wanted me to go to Peterborough. I knew I could have gone back to Huddersfield again with Steve Bruce was there. And Terry Oreth was there. So I knew I could have gone there. But then I rang Sam. And Sam was like, hello, baby. And I was going, don't baby me.
Yeah.
Baby.
You know. Because he used to call everybody baby.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Everybody was, all right, baby.
Right, okay.
That was his thing. And I said, don't baby me. I said, have the guts to tell me yourself.
Yeah.
I said, don't pass it on to Lenny, it's not right. And he said, oh, we'll sort it out. I said, Sam, off.
Yeah.
I'm gone.
Damage is done at that point,
I said, you've done me. I said, I'm gone. No, you stay, baby, you can't. And his words were to me, and I'll never forget it, it'd be like Pele leaving Santos. That's what he said to me. And I said, well, you wouldn't offer me 50% less than would you?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, but we'll sort it. I said, I don't want to sort it now. I'm gone. And that's, again, stubborn. And that's the way it was.
Yeah. But at that point, he's kind of broken your trust, hasn't he, really?
Yeah.
So
I didn't speak to him for 2 years.
Yeah.
But he rings me now. He rings me once a year.
Oh, you still keeping in touch?
Yeah, he rings me once a year now.
Christmas phone call or?
I forgive him.
Okay. All right then. So just want to thank you for coming on. We appreciate spending your time and just going through it there. So we just want to thank everyone for watching. And don't forget, if you enjoy the episodes, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed the content, leave us a like and share it with a friend. And if you want to get involved in the debate, drop a comment in the comment section. But that's it for us this time, guys. Have a world-class weekend.